All right, so let me ask you something real quick. Have you ever had a conversation with somebody and that conversation ended, right? But it didn't end in your head? You walk away, the moment is over, the topic is done. But later that night, your brain goes back to it and you replay it. You think about what they said and you think about what you should have said. You imagine what you'll say the next time you see them, and suddenly a conversation that lasted for 5 minutes replays over and over and over in your mind for 3 days. Different angles, different endings, different responses. Your mind starts running that tape again, like a highlight reel that just won't turn off. And if you ever caught yourself doing that, you're not alone, because almost everybody does it. They just don't talk about it. Welcome back to Word Forward, y'all. This is episode 6. And this is the place where we slow things down and try to make sense of this noise together. Okay? I'm your host, Damien J. Branch. And this week, we're going to talk about something that quietly affects a lot of people. Something that can sneak into your relationships, your work, your decision-making, even your peace of mind. The word is rumination. And now, I know that might sound like a psychological term, but the idea behind it is simple. Rumination is when your mind keeps chewing on that same thought, the same moment, the same argument, over and over in a loop. But here's the part that most people miss. Just because your mind is busy doesn't mean it's making progress. Sometimes your brain isn't solving the problem. Sometimes it's just running the same scene again, and again. And the tricky thing about these mental loops is that they feel productive. The brain's active, right? You're analyzing things and you're reviewing and you're trying to understand every detail of what just went down. You're thinking, you're working through it, but being mentally busy, it doesn't always mean that you're moving forward. Sometimes busy just means you're stuck. Stuck replaying the moment, stuck editing the conversation that already happened, stuck imagining a better response that you could have said, the situation that's already over. And the mind can do this for hours, right? For days even. Sometimes even years. Because the brain likes closure. It likes resolution, right? It likes to feel like everything makes sense. And when it doesn't always give you that clear ending, what happens then is your mind starts to fill in the blanks. It starts running its own tape. It replays the moment back and it's trying to fix something, but the moment already passed. And now this shows up in relationships too. You ever notice that people replay conversations like game film? Like they read the text message once, but then they read it again. And then once you read it a third time, you're suddenly reading it with tone in your head. Why did they say it like that? What do they mean by that word? Why did they add that emoji like that? Meanwhile, the other person that sent the message, they already moved on. They're continuing their day. They're eating dinner, snacks, watching TV, scrolling their phone. They're doing whatever they normally do. But in your mind, the conversation's still going over and over and over again, trying to decode something, a meaning, trying to figure out the intent, trying to understand the tone, and eventually you're not even in that relationship with that person or anyone. You're just locked in and cuffed with your own thoughts. And that could be exhausting because now the argument isn't happening between two people. It's happening between just you and your imagination. And here's the interesting thing I noticed. The people who replay conversations the most are the ones that really worry about how they affect other people. You know, you ever notice that? The people who carry a certain kind of presence, a certain kind of empathy, they're usually the ones questioning themselves later. They'll leave the conversation and think, did that just come out wrong? Did I say too much? Did I just offend somebody? And meanwhile, the person that they were talking to walked away feeling encouraged. They felt inspired. They even felt understood. But the person who said it is at home replaying the moment in their head. Because when you carry a certain kind of light, people open up to you. Sometimes strangers just trust you quickly. It happens to me a lot. Babies just stare at you. you know, Sometimes people will tell you things that they don't normally tell anyone else. And when that happens often, you start analyzing the things that you say. Everything that you mean, everything that you could have said a little differently. But sometimes the very thing that you question about yourself is the same thing that helps someone get through their day. Sometimes people who doubt themselves the most are the same people with the biggest impact in that room. They just don't always see it. But let's be honest for a second. Sometimes these thought loops aren't about understanding. Sometimes they're about ego. Sometimes we replay arguments because we want to just win them. And even after they're over, we imagine the perfect comeback, right? The perfect explanation, the moment where the other person finally admits, yeah, you know what, you were right. But life doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes you won't always get that moment. Sometimes conversations will just end without any closure. You know, Sometimes people just walk away without explaining anything to anyone. And sometimes the situation just stops without the resolution. We got to be okay with that. And if you keep waiting for that perfect ending, your mind will stay trapped in that replay, running the same mental tape over and over for years. Now add something else to the top of that, the modern world. Because today, our minds aren't just dealing with our own thoughts anymore. We're dealing with the internet, constant opinions, constant posts, constant videos, constant information. Everybody has a perspective. Everybody wants an argument. And everybody has a problem. I was online the other day and I saw something interesting. So I wanted to bring it here, right? Do you know how much water it takes to run AI systems, servers, cooling systems, all of that? I had to laugh when I read about this because it takes a different kind of discipline to be on the internet all day and people still don't know anything about you. I'm just here trying to post my own content and drink enough water like AI. But that moment actually made me realize something. Our minds are being fed too much information sometimes. And maybe a little bit more than it's designed to handle. And when our brains feel a little bit overloaded like that, it starts chewing on every single thing. Every comment, every conversation in front of us, every opinion thrown at us, until eventually your mind just doesn't know what to let go of anymore. Last episode, I talked about something important, the wall, your wall, and how success sometimes feels like you're swinging at a wall. over and over and over again, and nothing happens. Like swing number 1, nothing will happen. Swing number 10, nothing happening. Swing 50, still the same. But then when you hit swing 76, all of a sudden the wall cracks. But here's the connection. Getting stuck in your thoughts is just like standing in front of a wall. You study it, you analyze it, you debate it, you write essays about it. You try to understand every inch of the situation instead of just swinging. And here's the truth a lot of people don't want to hear. You don't break the wall by understanding. You break the wall by motion. Just take the swing. You know, some people spend their whole life in replay mode. They think about the past, you reanalyze your old situations, you replay conversations that already ended. And around here, I want us to practice forward motion, because living in a replay will just keep you stuck, and we have to move forward. That's where change actually happens. And I'm going to be honest. I caught myself doing this too. Replaying the same situation in my head. You know, replaying something someone said to me. Thinking about what I could have said. Letting it sit with me all night long until the next day. And sometimes you just have to stop yourself and ask a real question. Am I learning from this moment right now? Or am I just reliving it and letting it burn me out? Because those are two very different things. All right, so here's something I want you to think about this week. Okay? Is there a situation in your life right now that keeps you replaying it over and over in your mind? A conversation, a relationship, a moment where you wish you could have did things differently. Are you learning from that? And are you reliving it? And what could you change in your life to help you stop replaying that moment? If you took one step forward, what do you think would happen? If this episode made you think at all today, I want you to share it with somebody, because you know they need to hear it too. And follow the show on all platforms, Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. I'll leave everything in the description so you can find me. And leave a comment. That's most important, because I read all of them and I respond. You know? Let's keep building together, y'all. This is Word Forward. I'll see you in the next one.